Okay, good afternoon. So, today is week 3. We are going to review the content of week 2. Because last week we just gave some introduction about how do we use the radio to transmit data. I know probably some of you already know this. Most of you, if you don't have a background about radio communication, I think it's good to know. Okay, but if you know this already, just be patient. Okay, but what we have learned last week is we know the amplitude modulation, right? We also learned frequency modulation, but once we are going to transmit, large amount of data, we have to use a more complicated modulation methods because this will be able to carry more data. Okay. So the way we used to transmit this kind of data we call orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. Okay, I know it's a little bit complicated, but you don't need to remember all this. Like me, I've been teaching this for 4 years, I guess. But I don't think it's important to remember all terminology. You just need to know this is quite important, and we will be able to deliver mass amount of data. And this is very reliable. Okay, because we know once we are using the radios, especially for high frequency, the wave is very small. The wave depth is very small. So it's very easy to get lost, especially the environment has so many interference signals. Noise. Like we are talking, right? Outside has some noise, right? So the radio signal is the same. So once we are passing through the data, it will be affected. Okay. But how about we use Wi-Fi? Do you have a trouble for the noise? Probably not. You may find the signal is weak. Okay, but you have or maybe you may see some delay when you receive the signals. Okay, but remember last week when Maneo demonstrated the devices. These devices can transmit or receive 1 gigahertz signal, right? Okay, of course we can use to transmit the radios, but when we try to ask some radio station the voice, you can hear so many noise, right? It's not clear. The signal. Can you turn on the light? All that. Okay, so anyway, AM FM is probably more common to use in the radio. For the voice transmission. But for the data transmission with radio, there's many ways. In modern, there are more modulation method than this. This is just one of them. Okay, we will explain this later. Okay, why we need to have so many different kind of protocols. Why we need to have Wi-Fi? Why we need to have IoT? Right? We need to have LoRa. We need to have a SIGFOX because they do have different kind of requirements. Some of them require low energy consumption, right? Some of them required, time critical communication. That means like an emergency information, right? You need to have a quicker response, so you cannot have any delay. Okay, so you need to have different protocols for doing this. And also enhance mobile broadband. For example, if you go to the studio, right? So, a sports field. So they may maybe have 40,000 people there. Okay, like a soccer game. You go to a soccer game, right? So there is about 40,000 people, even more. But I believe most of the people, they do have cell phone. How can you handle this? You know what I mean? 4,000 people getting together, and everyone has cell phone, and everyone are taking pictures. Okay, so now let's look back to what we have been studying last week. We studied what? I show you some tables, remember? User experience. What is user experience? Like in our classroom, the Wi-Fi connection should be reached 300 megabit. Because we talk about the radios. Okay, when we talk about data, we use pi. Okay, so the Wi-Fi should reach these, and these will share to send 10 to 20 students, right? So your minimum requirement can be 50 to hundreds. Otherwise, you will feel too slow. That's the user's experience. But once we have more students join, the traffic will become more heavy, right? Okay, so the speed will go down. So what will you do? You need to know the user requirement first, and then you design the system to meet the requirements. Last week, I go through the slide very quickly. Okay, probably you don't feel this is important, but actually this is important. Okay, so once we know this, we will go to the user case study. Remember, in our class, we are going to have a project. You are going to finish a project, right? Okay, so you need to know requirements. Then you design a system can perform, the quality. We call QoE, quality of user experience. All right. Okay, so we will focus on this. And when you conduct the simulation, we are going to use free 5G core. Right? That's a platform we are going to use. You will need to check this based on your use case. So later in second hour, Manel will be used for team up 2 or 3 students to make one team. In our class, we have now only 8. And so we have 9. Okay, I will suggest maybe 3 teams, or you can have 2, 3. Okay. So it depends on you. Okay, and I will give you a project example. So this example is from journal. The journal usually was the research by the graduate students or some researchers, right? So they may spend 1 year, 2 years, even more years to finish. So I don't ask you to do something like that. Okay. I just hope that you can, conduct the simulation and try to learn how to plan a 5G network. If one day you are asked to design a network. Okay, so that's what I'm going to tell you. But I will also introduce the tool called Cisco Packet Tracker. If everyone heard about the Cisco company, Cisco, well, I think everyone knows, right? So usually in school, in university, we may use some open source tools. But once you join a company, you will feel the tools are different. Okay, because they are using some professional tools. Why? Because this kind of software, they have a company to update, right? And they will keep the software up to date, the technology. For open source, like 5G, free 5G core, if you go to check their GitHubs, some data have been published for 4 to 5 years, but never updated. Okay, so usually in my class, I would prefer to introduce some software to students. Okay, the student can, well, we may not be able to teach or learn, but you will understand once you are going to work in the 5G industries, what kind of tools you might need to use. I just give an example. You go to have job interview, and people say, "Oh, you took a class called 5G network. So do you know what is Cisco something?" And you say you don't know. It's quite weird, right? And then if they say, "Oh, do you know the TNS3?" Then you say, "I don't know." It's quite weird, too, either, right? So, but if they ask, if you tell them, there is a platform called Free 5G Core, but they say they don't know. Okay, that will become a gap. So it's better to know the inductions tools, but also standards. You take this class, you may try to become a system integrator, or you are system architecture. Architecture means you may not know all details, but you know the elements to construct a system, right? Okay, so you know the radio, you know the network, you know the database, you know the cloud, where to keep the data, something like that. That's architecture. Okay. But nowadays, most of IT guys from IT department, they learn how to handle the IT portions, the data. But they didn't know how to construct the 5G network. Okay, but how can we get the better signals, the good signals? stuff on the radio, the modulation. You need to decide which one is better, is more efficient. But of course, if all this will be correlated to the application use case. And I think we may have a time to go through the Nokia protocol. Okay, like I introduced this on the first week. This courses is not free. Okay, it will expand as the major concept of the 5G. Remember, we talked about the main features of 5G. That's beamforming, right? Remember beamforming? Then we will go through some of these. And why? Next week, remember, everyone remember, next week we are going to Nangang Exhibition Hall. Okay, don't come to here. Okay, so you go to, you go to a bus stop in front of our school. You take the number 050, 650, and go to the City Hall, Metro, City Hall station. I put the map in our Moodle system. Okay, so you go to the last station. Last station. Okay, blue line. And I will make you a whole 2 zone S on the 4th floor. Try to be there on time, okay, because I book a tour. We have a tour guide to give us introduction. Okay. But it's better to know some knowledge before you go. Like, if everyone know what is NSA? What is SA? SA, not NSA. What is SA and NSA? Standalone, right? Standalone. Standalone means 5G. Non-standalone means combined 4G and 5G network. Okay, so you need to know this, because once you get to the smart city expo, right? You talk to people, and people will talk to you like this. Okay, they may ask you about, they will not explain what is the non-SA or SA. Okay, they will not explain what is the channel N77, 79, 78. What is the N41? We talked about this on first day. I know you may not remember, but that's fine. You just need your concept. So when you talk to people, they know you are professional too. You are not just a fake. I am not professional. Okay, I am automation engineer. But I hope you remember all this. At least you know the situation. Okay, so now we can have a better understanding. Last week we talked about this, right? How is data put on radio wave, right? So we say this is 1 liter by amplitude, and this is 1 liter 1 is by frequency, right? So that's the basic knowledge. And this time domain and the frequency domain both can use to represent data, right? So there is three elements can use for modulation. So amplitude, frequency, and also phase. So combined with all this, we will be able to make a system for transmission. Okay, so we have receiver and the transmitter and receiver. Combine both, we call transceiver. So we may have client devices. So that can be the microprocessor, like something like Arduino. Arduino is a microprocessor, or a device like this. You need to have a radio module. Get this. Okay. So the process you have to modulate. For transmission, you modulate to become radio signal and transmit. Then you receive weak, because the signal can be weak. So you have to amplify first. Okay. So that's a basic concept. And that's a quadritude amplitude modulation. So that's QAM. You have to remember these two. These combined amplitude and phase. The advance of QAM, you will hear this very often. Okay, so that's direct sequence modulations, and that's frequency hopping, jump around. So combine all of this concept. In the end, we will have OFDM. So that's OFDM. But don't worry, we will talk about this in week 4. No. This year we changed to week 5. Okay. So we will introduce this later. Okay, so I think we have been introduced this already. Oh, no. This part is talking about money, about how much money will you pay for the network usage. Okay, so that's connections number, connected people is over 11 billion. I think today the number is more than this, and the people may pay $30 per month. It's quite close. Okay, so this is about 900. And how about the things? This is quite important concept, because we know if we want to have a more account, you cannot focus on the human. You should focus on the things. Okay, the market should focus on the car or some objects, not people. People are not going to have another phone. Like me, I have 2 phones. One is for my family. One is for my work. That's all. Most of people, they may have 2 cell phones. That's a reason. But most of people, they may have only one. So you are not going to, the telephone company, they are not going to focus on the growth, on the humans, user, but they will focus on the things that user. So we come back to we just mentioned, we will focus on data transmissions. Okay, but you have to think of this would be a highly flexible architecture. Why is highly flexible? Just an image. Now, in battery, we do have autonomous robot, mobile vehicles, MR robot. So they are moving along. So how can you construct the network? Okay, one question. Like in our classroom, right? We have students, we all have a cell phone, we use Wi-Fi, we link to Wi-Fi. But now we do have MR, just image you are MR. Right? So you are going to move to a factory. What network are you going to choose? Because the AMR can be very short. So he may move and go under some machines or cargo, the cargo, the pallet, because he's going to carry these kind of things, right? Okay, so he may behind some machine, the big machine, the very tall machine. So what kind of network are you going to build?
Mesh network.
What kind of? Mesh? I know mesh, but what protocol? Wi-Fi is mesh. 5G is mesh. This is Wi-Fi mesh. Okay? Like this one, they are same. But why we do have this mesh? Because we have MR, we are going to test it. So before we have this mesh. So once the MR leave the workshop, coming to the classroom, the robot can still link to the same Wi-Fi, right? That's the purpose of the Wi-Fi mesh. But my question is, once the robot is hiding under table, the signal may be blocked. Okay, you may think of some radio has better penetration. Penetration, goes through. Some radio, they may go through the wall. Actually, we have one chart to talk about this. They have a coefficient called efficiency. We talk about this. Like a glass. If you have glass, the signal will become weak. They have a coefficient, very efficient. Parameters. But the signal, they will reflect even though you are outside, right? So the signal may, like I have a transmitter. The signal, I may not be able to transmit the signal directly, but you will reflect to outside, right? They have a tool to simulate this. You can use that for your simulation. Okay, remember last time I told you this. That's a user experience requirements. Maybe last week you don't feel this is important, but later once you are going to construct design your network, you will see how important it is. Like here, open. That's a download, that's upload speed. And that's a latency, delayed. Okay. And this is the application. Some of them is latency sensitive. Some of them maybe not. That's a different use case. You know, broadband, machine type communication, and ultra high reliability and ultra low latency. So you can see this is my 1 millisecond. Ultra low latency. Now how can we achieve this? You have to very fast, right? So you need to use mini-web. So that can be 27 gigahertz. But what's the frequency we are using today? I forget. I think it's 3.8 gigahertz or 4.5 gigahertz. It depends on company. Depends on the license plan. Yeah, different countries have different frequency. Okay, we will talk about the spectrum in chapter 2. Well, but now you have to remember this system performance, connect density. That means how many devices you can link with. Okay. That's the density. How many? So the broadband as in cloud. So that's a pretty large space. In the stadium, 3,000. In a studio, right? In a lunar, in a suburban, urban. So remember, once you need to have some data, you can come to check this. Like here is airplane connectivity. So connection density is about 80 per plane, right? And a 60 airplane per 18,000 kilometers. Do you know this meaning? Do you know this meaning? Image there's an airport, and there's 80 person in the airplane, and there's 60 airplane in the airport. Okay, and the area is about 80 kilometers. So that's space, and we have airplane, right? We have a 60 airplane. And you are going to design a network for it. Got idea? So what you say is that you need to provide 1.2 gigabit per second for each airplane. It's possible because someone, the construction company, and they got a project, they are in charge to work in the airport, but they need to have a network, and that's a requirement. How would you design this? You know what I mean? You know how to design it? I don't know. I need to check. But it's interesting, right? How about the train, high-speed rail train? If you have ever taken the Taiwan high-speed rail train? No, not yet. Okay, I think it's like ICE or TGV in France or in Indonesia. You do have a high-speed, right? Well, it was built by China. No, I'm not. I don't against China. I just mean you can go to check. If we are going to have the network, how can we, make the requirements? Where is high-speed railway? Indoor ultra high. I don't know where it is, but I remember there is a table to talk about this. Oh, okay. This is also very important. Standard. Standard is very important, right? Like where is the antenna for airplane? Where is the antenna for airplane? You don't know, right? So you need to check the standards. But I know where is. Usually the antenna is on the top, just above the. It depends on which model. That's an airplane. The antenna is around here for satellite. Antenna. It's around here. Oh, but you don't need to know, because what I try to tell you is you need to know how to find the standard. So in this chapter, it will tell you, the 5G for connected automation and the 5G automotive association are focused on the 5G use case and their requirements for the perspective of specific vertical. 5G ACIA, industrial automation, because most of applications today will focus on industries, especially automation, right? We always talk about intelligent manufacturing, intelligent factory, intelligent for workshop. Okay, so that were related to the 5G ACIA. What we just read is part information cited from this. And here also, the Global System for Mobile Communication Association, GSMA, right? Okay, you also need to know what, ITUR, International Telecommunication Union, or, sorry I forget, but ITU is a very important organization for some standards. Okay, so if your company, they make car, like in Germany we do have Volkswagen, Mercedes, right? BMW. Okay, the company, you join the company and they say, oh, okay, we are going to develop some devices which can communicate with 5G. So you got to check the standard. You cannot design something by your imagination. Okay, so that's, but in school, you can use your imagination. But that's different. Okay. That's different. In school, we are doing research. But in lectures, you are, use your skill to help company. Okay, so that's a website of 5GAA. So why I show you this? Because now most of majority applications will be on the automotive, or autos. I mean cars, transportations, infrastructure. Okay, so you can see there's some informations here. Some publication. So if you are look for some up-to-date information, you should check their website. Okay. So also 5GPP, this is important. Okay, so they Japan to host the TSGS 111. So you may get some information, up-to-date technology information from here, like a 6G, right? So that's a highlight. Okay. You can read this, get information from here. But it's even better to find up-to-date information from the website I just introduced. Think of you are going to design a network or the car your company made, so you should go to check the 5GAA org. The book we use was published 5 years ago, so now it's a little bit old. So that's why I always add some up-to-date information for you. But textbook, one thing for textbook is good because it gives you the best information that you need to have. So once we are going to make a simulation, we can find this quickly. Like here, this table gives us, the experience data rate. So for high-speed train, so we have the capacitor data to key in your simulation environment. Okay, so that's a good example. That's area traffic capacity. Okay, one question. If we cannot achieve this speed, if the users' numbers increase suddenly, what will you do? You know what I mean? You design this, but now we design for 100 people on the train. but now there's 200 people on board. So what can we do? Or now we are in a musical concert, or we are in a baseball game. There's a 30,000 audience, right? But now the bandwidth is not good enough. We cannot handle so many users. You can change the band. You can change the band. You can enhance. Or you just discard the users. Depends on how much they pay. If you pay $1,499, okay, we will keep it. If you pay $299, like me, it will drop it. It will drop me. So if you go to some concert or some like a Taipei Dome, you go to some concert and then you're just curious why everyone has signals but I don't have. Because you should pay more. No. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about by the view of engineers. How can you provide a sustained quality for the user? What's your question? So you raise your hand. Hello. What's your question?
No, I just want to ask, what about resource allocation for all the cases in a crowded place? There's so many people, right?
Yeah.
And the base station maybe cannot handle all of them. So what about resource allocation, like distributing from?
Well, that's a good point. Where the radio station is very expensive. So like our school, we do have only one in our IB building. But as I say, the airport is very wide area, right? You cannot make a lot of radio station because there is not many users. I mean the density, cloud density is not high. If we are in the studio, it's fine, we can have more, and then we can increase the bandwidth, so we can transmit data, we can serve more users with a better quality, right? I don't know where to put the radio, and they do have a macro cell, small cell. That's what we are going to learn in this class. Well, don't worry, this is just general. This is chapter 1. Okay, we have level 1, level 2. This is talk about the quality. So level 0, no automation, automatic system issues. And the drive system. With drives and automatic system, sure control of the vehicle, for example, adaptive cruise control. And partial automation. So that's enhanced vehicles communication. While many of the time critical communication required and KPIs applied for vehicles communication, including enhancement beyond V2X provided by 4G, prompting and advanced driving. Okay, here talk about the level of drive. I think you heard this, right? Now most of cars are running with level 2, like a Tesla. Have everyone drive Tesla? No, I don't. My friend has one. I sit inside, but I have never tried. Because it's too expensive. Okay, what I know is even Tesla, they can only meet the level 2 partial automation. Okay, so now come back to our course. We focus on 5G. How can you construct a network to meet this? Okay, I have a question. Why Tesla has so many accidents? Maybe not many, but there are some Tesla accident report. They are, they cause very serious damage. But why? Why the Tesla have this kind of serious accident? Imagine if you are a car, right? You have sense. But the question is, once you are driving at 100 kilometer speed, that's very fast, right? Okay. So how about your sensor? How far your sensor can detect? You may say, I know this. Let's call it a LiDAR, right? There is a laser, right? Laser, so we can measure very far away. Okay, LiDAR. On my home, I have a robot cleaner, iRobot, right? So there is LiDAR too. But the question is that the LiDAR on your cleaner, iRobot, that one only costs 2,000 Taiwanese dollars. Less than $100 US. You know what I mean? This one can only detect 2 to 3 meters away. Okay, maximum maybe 10 meters. That kind of sensor is useless to Tesla, the car running in 100 kilometers. Okay, so you may say, so we can have a better laser, right? What I know is, if you want to have the LiDAR which can reach 100 meters, that one will cost $500,000 Taiwanese dollars. That will be the 25% of the car. Tesla only sell the price is about $2 million, right? I mean the lowest class. But this one will cost $500,000. So that's why Tesla doesn't have LiDAR. They use a camera. Okay. Remember, I've been talking about this. For vehicles, they have a two-way communication. One is dedicated short distance communication, dedicated short distance, DSDC. It's for car-to-car communication. So like Bluetooth, we talk to each other directly. The other one is V2X or V2N. The other one, V2N. So you will try to get the information from cloud. Okay. Now we come back to the question I just asked you. Why Tesla has so many accidents? Actually, in the design, the car should get the data by his own sensors. But the sensor can only reach some certain distance, maybe 30 meters, 50 meters. The other information more far away issue access from the cloud. I mean a V2Net network. But who is going to give him the network? Who? That's a 5G engineer. You need to provide that. So combine these. In the future, the autonomous car on the road will be safe. Because he will be able to know all cars' position. So he can get a pre-warning before the other car get access. And then he know any building, all obstacles. So my assumption is the Tesla lost some information from the car. And the car speed too high, too fast. Maybe the algorithm is not very good. Okay? But anyway, the level 2 car is not allow you, to hang off your wheel. But now Tesla say they announced level 3, right? I think that last month, they start to run their taxi. Because Tesla announced that now your car is not just your car. You can buy a Tesla, and if you are not using your car, you can make your car to become the taxi, Uber. So your car will make money for you. And then you don't need to drive the car. That sounds good, right? But do you believe it's safe? Okay, I want to say this is, if the network is not mature, the autonomous vehicle won't be safe. The network will play a very important role in the future. Okay, performance requirement for vehicle painting. Okay, so this is another, I forget time. It's over time. We should take a break. Okay, let's take a break.